He walked away from billionaire CEO 500M empire to raise twins he could never buy with money. Nathan, I was pregnant when I left. With twins. The billionaire CEO's face paled as he gripped the edge of his mahogany desk, the blood draining from his features as though he'd seen a ghost. Twins, he repeated, the word sounding foreign on his tongue. You've been raising my children for 8 years and never told me? No, Olivia corrected, her voice steel-wrapped in silk. I've been raising my children for 8 years. The same children you made abundantly clear you never wanted when you said they'd be the death of everything we've worked for. Have you ever walked away from something worth $500 million? What could possibly be more valuable than that kind of wealth and power? This is the story of a woman who gave up an empire to protect what truly mattered, and the man who discovered too late what his money could never buy. If you've ever had to choose between success and happiness, between wealth and family, or if you've ever wondered if someone from your past still thinks about you, this story will resonate deep in your soul. Hit that like button right now if you believe some things in life are truly priceless. I'm Mr. Wentworth, and today we're diving into a tale of love, loss, redemption, and the choices that define our lives. By the end, you'll understand why some sacrifices are worth making and some treasures can never be bought. Let's begin. 8 years ago, Olivia Chin walked away from Horizon Innovations, the tech company she co-founded with her then-husband Nathan Barrett. She left behind her corner office, her substantial equity stake worth nearly $500 million, and the man who had promised to love her forever. What no one knew, not the board members, not the industry analysts, and especially not Nathan, was that she carried within her the seeds of a new future, one that would grow far from the shadow of Nathan's empire. Now, on a crisp autumn morning, Olivia stood in the soaring lobby of Horizon's headquarters, a building twice the size of the one she'd helped design all those years ago. Glass and steel stretched toward the sky, a physical manifestation of Nathan's ambition. She smoothed her modest dress, a far cry from the designer clothing she once wore daily, and approached the reception desk with quiet confidence. I'm here to see Nathan Barrett, she said, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of her heart. The receptionist, a polished young woman who couldn't be more than 25, glanced up, with practiced professionalism. Do you have an appointment? I am. No, but he'll see me. Tell him Olivia Chin is here. The receptionist's eyebrows rose slightly at the lack of an appointment, but she lifted her phone and murmured discreetly into it. After a brief exchange, she looked up with surprise. Mr. Barrett can see you now. 15th floor, end of the hall. I know where it is, Olivia replied, moving toward the elevator bank. As she rode upward, she touched the handmade bracelets on her wrist, one blue, one pink, woven with childish care by small fingers she loved more than life itself. A reminder of why she was here, of what really mattered. When the elevator doors opened on the executive floor, Olivia walked the familiar path to the CEO's office, noting how little had changed despite the upgraded surroundings. The same hushed atmosphere, the same deference from employees who stepped aside as she passed. Power had its own gravity, and Nathan had always commanded it effortlessly. His assistant's eyes widened in recognition as Olivia approached. Miss Chin, it's been years. Hello, Karen. Still keeping him organized? Trying to. The woman smiled. Go right in. He's expecting you. Olivia took a deep breath and pushed open the heavy door. The office was larger than it had been when she left, a corner space with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing San Francisco's skyline. At the far end, behind a desk that could have doubled as a conference table, sat Nathan Barrett. At 42, he looked even better than he had in his 30s, a touch of silver at his temples, lines of authority rather than age marking his face. The tailoring of his suit was impeccable, his posture perfect. Every inch the billionaire CEO whose face regularly appeared on business magazine covers. When he looked up from his computer, his expression shifted from polite interest to shock as recognition dawned. Olivia? He stood abruptly, nearly knocking over his ergonomic chair. What are you? How did you get past security? I used my real name. She remained standing, unwilling to cede even that small advantage by sitting. You never took me off the permanent access list. Why? Nathan stared at her as though he'd seen a ghost. In many ways he had. It's been 8 years. She finished for him. I know exactly how long it's been. Nathan gestured to the chair across from his desk, composing himself with visible effort. Please, sit. Can I get you something? Coffee? Water? I'm not here for pleasantries, Nathan. He nodded, settling back into his chair. Why are you here, Olivia? After all this time? The Artemis Project, she said simply. Nathan's eyebrows rose. You want to discuss an acquisition? Now? After disappearing for 8 years without a word? I'm not here to discuss an acquisition. I'm here to decline one. Decline? Nathan laughed, though there was no humor in it. We haven't even made an offer. But you will. Tomorrow, according to my sources, $50 million for a technology you don't understand created by a founder you've never met. Olivia leaned forward. Except you have met her. You were married to her. Nathan's expression froze as understanding dawned. You founded Artemis? The adaptive learning platform that's revolutionizing education? I did. But the founder is listed as O.C. Reeves. My maternal grandmother's name. I needed privacy more than recognition. Nathan stood and walked to the windows, his back to her as he absorbed this information. The view was spectacular, a $500 million empire spread beneath them like a gleaming jewel. You disappeared, Olivia. No contact, no forwarding address. Your family wouldn't tell me anything. I thought. He turned to face her. I thought something had happened to you. Something did happen to me, Nathan. I became a mother. The words landed between them like a physical blow. Nathan's face paled as he gripped the edge of his desk. What did you say? I was pregnant when I left. With twins. Nathan sank slowly back into his chair. Twins, he repeated, the words sounding foreign on his tongue. Their names are Emma and Alexander. They're 7 years old. 7. Nathan's voice was hollow. You've been raising my children for 7 years and never told me? No, Olivia corrected firmly. I've been raising my children for 7 years. The same children you made abundantly clear you never wanted. That's not fair. We discussed children. We decided our work was too important, that we needed to focus on building Horizon. No, you decided. You made it clear that children would be an impediment to your vision, a distraction from the empire you were building. And you never thought to mention you were pregnant before you vanished. Would it have changed anything? Olivia asked quietly. Would you have chosen us over this? She gestured to the empire around them. Nathan opened his mouth, then closed it again. They both knew the answer. Why tell me now? He finally asked. After all this time? Because your company is trying to acquire mine, and I can't allow that to happen. Artemis is more than a business to me. It's the future I'm building for our children. Our children, Nathan echoed, testing the words. I have children. Biologically speaking, yes. I want to meet them. No. Nathan's head snapped up, eyes flashing. No? You can't keep my children from me. I have for 7 years. I've raised them, loved them, built a life for them while you've been building your empire. You made your choice, Nathan. I made mine. I didn't know there was a choice to make. He stood, anger replacing shock. You never gave me that chance. The night before I left, you stood in this very office and told me that children would be the death of everything we've worked for. You said, and I quote, some people are meant to create companies, not families. Nathan flinched at his own words thrown back at him. I was under immense pressure. The Series C funding was falling apart. You know how crucial that period was. I do. I also know that you meant every word. Olivia stood. I didn't come here to reopen old wounds or to invite you into our lives. I came to tell you directly that Artemis is not for sale, not to Horizon, not to anyone. It's the legacy I'm building for Emma and Alexander. At least let me see them. Once. They deserve to know who their father is. Their father is the man who reads them bedtime stories every night, who coaches Alexander's soccer team, who sits patiently while Emma practices violin. Olivia's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Their father is David Reeves, the man I married 5 years ago, who chose to love them as his own. Nathan felt as though the floor had dropped from beneath him. You're married? Happily. Does he know? About me? Of course. David knows everything. He also knows I'm here today. Nathan ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, disrupting it for the first time Olivia could remember. This is a lot to process. I understand. That's why I'm giving you time to process it before your board meeting tomorrow. Withdraw your interest in Artemis. Focus on the dozen other acquisitions I'm sure you're pursuing. And if I don't, if I still want to acquire Artemis, then I'll go public with who I am. The tech world loves nothing more than a good scandal. The brilliant co-founder who left Horizon's billionaire CEO to raise his secret twins while building her own successful company. Imagine the headlines. You wouldn't. I would do anything to protect what I've built, Nathan. Just like you. As Olivia turned to leave, Nathan called after her. You helped build this too, you know? Horizon was our dream. Together. She paused at the door. No, Horizon was your dream. My dream was always about creating something meaningful, something that would help people. You once understood that difference. I still do, Nathan said quietly. Why do you think we've been trying to acquire Artemis? Your adaptive learning platform is revolutionary. It could help millions of children. And now we come to it. Olivia smiled sadly. It's not about the children, Nathan. It's about the acquisition, the expansion, the empire. It always has been. After she left, Nathan stood motionless in his office, staring at the door through which his past had just walked. He'd spent 8 years building Horizon into a technology powerhouse, worth over $500 million. He dated models, actresses, even a European princess. His face had graced the covers of business magazines. By every external measure, he had succeeded beyond imagination. Yet, in 10 minutes, Olivia had made it all feel hollow. He had children, twins, a boy and a girl he'd never met, who called another man father. With trembling fingers, he opened his laptop and searched for Artemis Learning Platform. The company's website appeared, minimalist and elegant. There were no photos of the founder, no personal information at all. Just testimonials from teachers and parents about how the platform had transformed education for their children. Then he searched O.C. Reeves and found nothing but a brief professional bio. Founder and CEO of Artemis Learning. Previously worked in software development. Graduate of MIT, based in Boulder, Colorado. Boulder, she'd moved across the country, built a new life, a new family, a new company. All while he'd been here, expanding the empire they'd once started together. Nathan canceled his remaining meetings and left the office early, something he hadn't done in years. He drove aimlessly through the city before finding himself at the small waterfront park where he proposed to Olivia 10 years earlier. They'd been so young then, so full of ambition and dreams, both for their company and for each other. Where had it all gone wrong? He knew exactly where. Success had changed him. As Horizon grew, so did his obsession with making it bigger, better, more dominant. Olivia had tried to remind him of their original mission, to create technology that improved lives, not just market value. His phone buzzed with a text from his CFO. Japanese investors confirmed for dinner tonight. Crucial for the Singapore expansion. Nathan stared at the message for a long moment before typing, need to reschedule. Family emergency. It wasn't even a lie. If you're enjoying this story of love, loss, and what truly matters in life, hit that like button and subscribe to Lux Love Chronicles with Mr. Wentworth for more powerful stories that touch the heart and stir the soul. Comment below if you've ever had to make a difficult choice between career and relationships. I read every comment. 10 years earlier, the MIT campus buzzed with the energy of young minds racing toward the future. Among them, Olivia Chen and Nathan Barrett stood out as a golden couple. She, the brilliant software designer with an artist's soul. He, the charismatic business major, with an uncanny ability to see market potential where others saw only problems. They met in a cross-disciplinary innovation class, where Nathan had been immediately drawn to the quiet woman whose software prototype outshone everyone else's. That's remarkable, he said, studying her adaptive interface design. You've solved the personalization problem everyone else is still struggling with. Olivia looked up, surprised by the genuine appreciation in his voice. Most business students dismiss the technical aspects, focusing only on marketability. It still needs work, she replied modestly. It needs a business plan. Nathan countered with a smile that would eventually become famous in Silicon Valley boardrooms. And I happen to be very good at those. Their partnership began professionally but quickly bloomed into something more. Late nights coding and strategizing turned into dinner dates and weekend hikes where they would dream about changing the world through technology. Imagine software that actually learns from people, Olivia would say, eyes bright with passion. Not just collecting data to sell them things, but truly understanding how they learn, how they think, and adapting to help them. And imagine making that available to everyone, not just those who can afford premium services. Nathan would add, technology should level the playing field, not tilt it further toward the privileged. They were idealistic, ambitious, and deeply in love. A combination that proved unstoppable when they founded Horizon Innovations during their final year at MIT. Their complementary skills made them perfect partners. Olivia created the revolutionary adaptive software architecture, while Nathan secured their first investors and mapped out their market strategy. The early years were magical, working side by side in a tiny office, celebrating each small victory, supporting each other through setbacks. They married 2 years after graduation, a small ceremony at that same waterfront park, where Nathan would later find himself reflecting on what went wrong. "We're building something that matters," Nathan said in his wedding vows. "Not just a company, but a life together. You're my partner in everything, Olivia. Always." She believed him then. They both believed in their shared vision of creating technology that would genuinely improve people's lives. The first iteration of Horizon's adaptive learning software was designed specifically for children with learning differences, helping them master concepts at their own pace. "This is going to change education," Olivia said the night they launched their first product. "Think of all the children who will finally have tools that work with their minds instead of against them." "And it's just the beginning," Nathan replied, pouring champagne to celebrate. "Next, we'll tackle workplace training, professional development, maybe even healthcare applications." The success came faster than either of them anticipated. Their software caught the attention of major educational technology investors, and suddenly Horizon was the hot new startup everyone wanted a piece of. The tiny office gave way to a real workspace, then to an entire floor of a downtown building. The team of 2 became 20, then 100. With success came changes, subtle at first. Nathan began spending more time with investors and potential partners, less time understanding the technology itself. His focus shifted from "how can this help people?" to "how can this grow our market share?" "We need to diversify," he told Olivia 3 years in, as they discussed strategy in their new corner offices. "Education is important, but the real money is in enterprise applications." "I thought the point wasn't just making money," Olivia countered. "Our mission statement is about improving lives through adaptive technology. And we can improve more lives with better funding," Nathan reasoned. "Sometimes you have to follow the money to follow the mission." It made sense on paper. It always did with Nathan. He had a gift for making the pragmatic sound visionary, for wrapping necessary compromises in the language of greater good. Olivia found herself agreeing, though something in her hesitated. The shift happened so gradually that Olivia couldn't pinpoint exactly when Nathan's priorities changed completely. When the thrill of closing a major deal replaced the satisfaction of hearing how their software had helped a child read for the first time. When market share became more important than meaningful impact, she remembered clearly, though, the day she realized they were no longer building the company they had dreamed of. "We're cutting the educational accessibility division," Nathan announced during an executive meeting. "It's not generating sufficient return on investment." "That's our foundation," Olivia objected. "The whole reason we started Horizon. It's a legacy product with limited growth potential," countered Vernon Hughes, the aggressive COO Nathan had recently hired from a major competitor. "We need to focus on enterprise solutions if we want to hit our targets for the Series C." Olivia looked to Nathan, waiting for him to defend their original vision. Instead, he nodded in agreement. "Vernon's right. Sentiment doesn't build shareholder value. We can always revisit educational applications once we've secured our position in the enterprise market." That night, in their expensive downtown condo with its panoramic views of the city, Olivia confronted him. "What happened to building something that matters? Something that helps people?" Nathan sighed, loosening his tie. "We are helping people live. We're creating jobs, driving innovation. The bigger we get, the more resources we'll have to pursue those altruistic projects you care about." "They're not my altruistic projects, Nathan. They were ours. Our vision, our purpose." "When did that change?" "It didn't change. It evolved." He poured himself a scotch, an expensive brand he'd recently developed a taste for. "That's what successful companies do. They adapt to market realities. We're adapting away from everything we believed in. We believed in building something significant. That's exactly what we're doing." But they weren't. Not really. As Horizon grew, it became less distinctive, more like every other tech company chasing market dominance. Olivia found herself increasingly isolated, her concerns about their direction dismissed as impractical idealism. The final year of their marriage was marked by growing distance. Nathan worked later, traveled more frequently, spent weekends networking with investors rather than reconnecting with his wife. When they did speak, it was rarely about the things that had once bound them together, their shared vision, their dreams for the future, the possibility of someday starting a family. "Do you ever think about having children?" Olivia asked one rare evening when they were both home for dinner. Nathan glanced up from his phone, where he'd been reviewing quarterly projections. "Children? Where is this coming from?" "I don't know. We used to talk about it, before Horizon took over everything. A family, someday. We have too much on our plates right now for that conversation, he replied, returning to his phone. Maybe in a few years, when things stabilize. But things never stabilized. There was always another funding round, another acquisition target, another market to penetrate. The conversation about children remained theoretical, a someday that seemed increasingly distant. Until the night that changed everything. It was late, past midnight. Olivia had waited up, hoping to finally have the conversation she'd been putting off for weeks. The home pregnancy test hidden in her bathroom drawer had shown positive that morning, confirming what she'd suspected for days. She was nervous but hopeful that Nathan would share her joy once the initial shock wore off. When he finally came home, he was distracted, agitated. "The Singapore deal is falling apart," he announced, dropping his briefcase on the counter. "Tanaka is backing out unless we show stronger quarterly growth. Nathan, we need to talk." "Not now, Liv. I have to review these projections before my call with Tokyo in 3 hours. This is important." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "More important than a deal that could make or break our Series C funding?" "Yes. It's about us, about our future." Something in her tone made him pause. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about what's missing in our lives, about what we've lost sight of while building Horizon." "Not this again," he groaned. "I don't have time for another debate about our company values. It's not about Horizon. It's about us. I want to talk about starting a family." Nathan went very still. "A family? Now? You can't be serious." "Why not now? We're financially secure. The company is established." "The company is at a critical juncture," he cut in. "We're about to go global, expand into new markets. This is the worst possible time to even consider children. There will always be another critical juncture, another expansion, another reason to wait. Because that's what building something significant requires." His voice rose in frustration. "Sacrifice, focus, commitment. Children would be the death of everything we've worked for." The words hung in the air between them, impossible to take back. "Is that really how you feel?" Olivia asked quietly. "That children would destroy rather than enhance our lives?" "I'm being realistic. Some people are meant to create companies, not families. We're those people, Liv. We always have been." In that moment, Olivia saw with painful clarity that the man she had married, the one who had shared her vision of technology that helped people, was gone. In his place stood a stranger obsessed with growth metrics and market share, who saw children as impediments rather than blessings. She didn't tell him about the pregnancy test that night. What would have been the point? Instead, she made a decision that would alter both their lives forever. The next morning, while Nathan was in an early strategy meeting, Olivia packed essential belongings, emptied her personal bank account, leaving untouched the substantial funds tied to Horizon, and wrote a brief note. "We no longer want the same things. I can't keep pretending otherwise. Don't look for me." She left her wedding ring on top of the note, walked out of their condo, and disappeared from Nathan Barrett's life. 2 weeks later, in a small apartment in Boulder, Colorado, Olivia confirmed what she already knew. She was carrying twins. As she looked at the ultrasound image, tears streaming down her face, she made a promise to her unborn children. "I will build a life for us that matters, one that puts people before profits. And someday, I'll build you a company that reflects those values too." It wasn't easy. Pregnancy, while starting over in a new city, with limited funds and no support system, tested Olivia in ways she had never imagined. She took consulting jobs, working remotely to preserve her privacy, careful to stay below the radar of anyone connected to Horizon. The twins were born 6 weeks early, a tiny boy and girl who immediately became the center of Olivia's universe. Emma, with Olivia's thoughtful eyes and creative spirit. Alexander, with Nathan's analytical mind and determined expression. Looking at them in their hospital bassinets, Olivia felt both overwhelming love and deep sadness that their father would never know them. "Your mom's a fighter," the labor nurse told the twins as she checked their vital signs. "You two picked the right woman to bring you into this world." The early years were a blur of sleepless nights, tight budgets, and the constant juggling act of single motherhood. Olivia worked while the twins napped, coated with one baby on her lap, and gradually built a consulting business that allowed her to work from home. She made friends slowly, careful about what she revealed about her past. When the twins were 2, Olivia began developing what would eventually become the Artemis learning platform. Working nights after the children were asleep, she returned to the adaptive interface concepts she had pioneered at Horizon, but with a renewed focus on educational applications. "This is for you. She would tell the twins as they played nearby while she worked. Someday you'll understand why it matters. Emma and Alexander grew into curious, bright toddlers who watched their mother build something from nothing with the determined focus that both parents had possessed. They didn't know that their mother had once helped create a technology empire, or that their father was the famous CEO whose innovations were changing the industry. They only knew that their mom worked hard, loved them fiercely, and always made time for bedtime stories, no matter how busy she was. When the twins were 3, Olivia met David Reeves at a parent-teacher conference at their preschool. He was the twins' science enrichment teacher, a kind man with an easy smile and infinite patience for children's questions. "Your twins are remarkable," he told Olivia after a demonstration where Alexander had logically deduced how a simple pulley system worked while Emma creatively applied it to her dollhouse. "They have such different approaches to problems, but they work together beautifully. They balance each other," Olivia agreed. "I try to nurture both their analytical and creative sides. It shows." David hesitated, then added, "I hope this isn't inappropriate, but would you like to get coffee sometime?" As a single dad, I don't get many chances to talk with adults who understand the joys and challenges of raising bright kids. Olivia was cautious but intrigued. It had been years since she considered dating, her focus entirely on the twins and her growing business. But there was something about David's straightforward kindness that appealed to her. Their coffee date turned into dinner the following week, which led to weekend outings with all the children. David's son, Michael, was 5 and quickly became a protective older brother figure to the twins. For the first time since leaving San Francisco, Olivia began to imagine a family that extended beyond just her and the twins. "I should tell you something," she said to David 6 months into their relationship, after the children were asleep. "About my past. About the twins' father." She told him everything. About Horizon, about Nathan, about her choice to leave without telling him about the pregnancy. David listened without judgment, his hand steady in hers. "That must have been an incredibly difficult decision," he said when she finished. "To walk away from everything you'd built." "Not everything," Olivia corrected. "Just the parts that had lost their meaning. I kept what mattered, my values, my vision for technology that helps people. And I gained the 2 most important things in my world. The twins. Yes, I've never regretted it. Not for a moment." "Does he know about them?" "No. And I've often wondered if that was the right choice. But when I left, Nathan had made it abundantly clear that children would be the death of everything we'd worked for. I couldn't bring them into a life where they were seen as obstacles rather than blessings." David nodded thoughtfully. "I understand your reasoning. But someday, they might want to know about him." "I know. I've always planned to tell them when they're old enough to understand. I don't want to lie to them or pretend their father didn't exist." "Abbe, that's one of the things I admire about you," David said. "Your integrity, even in the most difficult situations." Olivia felt a weight lift as David accepted her complicated past without judgment. Over time, their relationship deepened into a partnership based on shared values, mutual respect, and the kind of quiet love that builds slowly but lasts. 2 years later, they married in a simple ceremony in their backyard, with the 3 children as their only attendants. Emma scattered flower petals with artistic flair, while Alexander solemnly carried the rings, having calculated the exact pacing needed to reach the makeshift altar at the perfect moment. "I never expected to find this kind of happiness again," Olivia said in her vows. "You've shown me that a true partnership isn't about building empires or chasing success, but about building a life of meaning together." Number 4. David became the father the twins had never known. Coaching Alexander's soccer team, patiently teaching Emma to ride a bike, reading them bedtime stories, and answering their increasingly complex questions about the world. He never tried to replace their biological father, instead creating his own unique bond with each child. As the twins grew, Artemis Learning grew with them. What had begun as Olivia's side project became a respected educational platform, attracting attention from schools and learning centers across the country. She kept her identity as founder private, using her grandmother's name professionally and focusing on impact rather than recognition. By the time the twins were 7, Artemis had become a significant player in educational technology, known for its exceptional adaptive capabilities and commitment to accessibility. Olivia had built it slowly, refusing outside investment to maintain control of her vision, even when that meant slower growth than might have been possible with venture funding. What she didn't know, until a colleague mentioned it casually, was that Horizon Innovations had taken notice of her company. "Did you hear Horizon is looking at acquiring educational technology companies again?" her lead developer mentioned during a team meeting. "Apparently." They're specifically interested in adaptive learning platforms. Olivia felt a chill run through her. After years of focusing exclusively on enterprise applications, why would Horizon suddenly return to education? Why now, when Artemis was gaining recognition? She began researching discreetly, using contacts in the industry to learn more about Horizon's acquisition plans. What she discovered confirmed her fears. Artemis was at the top of their target list, with a board meeting scheduled to approve an acquisition offer. After 8 years of building separate lives, it seemed Nathan Barrett was about to unknowingly reclaim what she had created, just as he had done with their original vision for Horizon. Olivia knew she had only one option: confront Nathan directly, before he could make an offer that would force her hand. She would have to return to the world she had left behind and face the man she had once loved, the father of her children who had never known they existed. What she didn't anticipate was how seeing him again would resurrect feelings she thought long buried, or how the revelation of the twins' existence would shatter his carefully constructed world. I want to share something personal with you. In my own life, I've seen how easily we can lose sight of what truly matters when pursuing success. If this story resonates with you, if you believe that relationships should come before ambition, hit that subscribe button and join our community of storytellers and listeners who value the deeper truths of life. Let me know in the comments if you think Olivia made the right choice in walking away, or if Nathan deserved to know about his children. The morning after confronting Nathan, Olivia dropped the twins at school, kissing them both goodbye before they raced off to join their friends. At 7, they were already showing distinct personalities: Emma, artistic and thoughtful like Olivia; Alexander, analytical and determined like Nathan, though she tried not to dwell on those similarities. "Have a good day at work, Mom," Emma called over her shoulder. "Change the world," Alexander added, their standard farewell. "I'll try," Olivia promised, the same reply she gave every morning. As she walked to her car, a familiar figure leaning against it made her stop short. Nathan. He looked different in the morning light, more human somehow, less the polished CEO, and more the man she had once known. His expensive suit couldn't hide the dark circles under his eyes or the tension in his shoulders. "I canceled the acquisition meeting," he said without preamble. "Thank you." She moved to open her car door, but he remained in her way. "I'm not here about Artemis. I'm here about Emma and Alexander. I told you yesterday. I know what you told me. I also know I have no legal rights, no moral high ground to stand on. But they're my children too, Olivia. I deserve a chance to know them. And what happens when knowing them interferes with your next funding round, or your expansion into Singapore?" She hadn't meant to reveal she still kept tabs on his business, but the words slipped out. A slight smile touched his lips. "You've been following Horizon's progress. Know thy enemy," she said with a small smile of her own. "I was never your enemy, Liv." The old nickname hit her harder than she expected. "What do you want, Nathan? Really? A chance. One meeting. You can be there the entire time. Your husband too, if that makes you more comfortable. I need to see them. Once. And then what? You go back to your empire, and we go back to our lives." "I don't know," he admitted, and the honesty in his voice surprised her. "I haven't thought past seeing them once." "That's the problem with you, Nathan. You never think past the immediate goal. Children aren't an acquisition you can evaluate and then decide whether to integrate into your portfolio. That's not fair. I didn't even know they existed until yesterday. And whose fault is that? Who made it clear that children would be the death of everything we've worked for?" Nathan flinched. "I was wrong. About so many things." For the first time, Olivia really looked at him. The polished CEO facade had cracked, revealing the man she'd once loved: vulnerable, uncertain, human. "One meeting," she finally said. "Saturday at River Park. The public playground area. 1 hour." Relief washed over his face. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I haven't decided what to tell them about who you are. Tell them I'm an old friend. That's true enough." As she drove to the Artemis office, Olivia questioned her decision. Was she opening a door that should remain closed? Would this brief meeting satisfy Nathan's curiosity, or would it ignite a desire for more involvement? How would it affect the twins? She hadn't told Nathan the whole truth. Emma and Alexander knew they had a biological father who wasn't in their lives. They knew his name was Nathan Barrett. They occasionally asked questions, which she answered honestly but age-appropriately. What they didn't know was that their biological father was the famous tech CEO whose company made the tablets their school used. When she arrived at Artemis, her marketing director immediately approached with concern. "Olivia, is everything okay?" The team is confused about why the Horizon meeting was suddenly canceled. Was it something in our presentation? No, Rachel. It was my decision. Horizon isn't the right partner for us. But their resources, their distribution channels, it could have taken Artemis global overnight. Some costs are too high, even for global reach. Olivia touched the bracelets on her wrist, centering herself. Trust me on this. We'll find another way to grow without compromising our vision. Throughout the day, Olivia found her thoughts returning to Nathan, to the shock and hurt in his eyes when she'd revealed the existence of the twins. Had she been wrong to keep them from him? Had her fear of his rejection, of his priorities, robbed the children of a relationship they deserved? David would say she had made the best decision she could with the information she had at the time. David, who had shown her what a true partner could be, who had loved her children as his own without ever trying to erase their origins. When she arrived home that evening, he was helping the twins with a science project, a model of the solar system that had taken over their dining room table. Mom, Alexander called. We got Neptune's orbit mathematically precise. And I painted the rings on Saturn with glow and dark paint, Emma added proudly. David looked up with a smile that still made her heart skip after 5 years of marriage. At 40, he was the opposite of Nathan in almost every way. A high school science teacher with no interest in wealth or status, content with their modest home and the family they'd built together. How was your day? He asked, eyes crinkling at the corners. Interesting, she replied. We need to talk later. After the twins were in bed, Olivia told David about Nathan's appearance at their school. Are you okay with this meeting? He asked, concern evident in his voice. I don't know. Part of me thinks he deserves to see them once. Another part is terrified he'll want more. And what if he does? What if he decides he wants to be part of their lives? He walked away from me, from us, for his company. He made his choice. He didn't know about the twins when he made that choice, David said gently. Whose side are you on? She asked, though there was no real heat in her question. Yours. Always yours. But I'm also on Emma and Alexander's side. They might want to know him someday. Olivia leaned into her husband's embrace. When did you get so wise? Around the time I fell in love with a brilliant woman and her amazing children. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of the decision before them settling between them. I'll come with you on Saturday, David finally said. Not to interfere, but to support you, and the twins, if they need it. In fact, you're a good man, David Reeves. Just a man who knows what matters. He kissed her forehead. And it's not stock options or market share. If this story is touching your heart, please like and subscribe to Lux Love Chronicles with Mr. Wentworth. Share your thoughts in the comments about whether Nathan deserves a second chance with his children. Every like helps this channel grow and allows me to bring you more stories about love, sacrifice, and redemption. Saturday arrived too quickly. Olivia had told the twins they were meeting one of her old friends from her previous job, someone who wanted to say hello while he was in town. They'd shrugged, more interested in the playground than in meeting another boring adult. As they drove to River Park, Alexander asked the question Olivia had been dreading. Mom, is your friend important? You seem nervous. Olivia met David's eyes briefly in the rearview mirror before answering. He was important to me a long time ago. Before Daddy David? Emma asked, using the term she'd coined when she was 4 to distinguish between David and the biological father they'd never met. Yes, sweetheart. Before Daddy David. Is he nice? Alexander pressed, his analytical mind always seeking more data. He's complicated, Olivia answered truthfully. David reached across the console to squeeze her hand, his quiet strength steadying her as it had for years. River Park was bustling with weekend activity. Families picnicking, children playing, dogs chasing frisbees across open green spaces. Olivia spotted Nathan immediately. He sat alone on a bench near the playground, wearing casual clothes that probably cost more than David's monthly salary. Even in jeans and a simple button-down shirt, he carried himself with the unconscious authority of a man accustomed to commanding rooms. When he saw them approaching, he stood, his eyes immediately finding the twins. For a moment, he simply stared, and Olivia saw something she'd never witnessed in all their years together. Nathan Barrett. Speechless. Hi, he finally said, the single syllable laden with emotion. Hello, Nathan, Olivia replied. This is my husband, David. The two men shook hands with the awkward politeness of a situation for which there was no social script. Thank you for coming, Nathan said to David, genuine gratitude in his voice. David nodded. It's not about us. It's about them. And these are Emma and Alexander, Olivia continued. Kids, this is Mr. Barrett, my old colleague I told you about. Emma offered a polite hello while Alexander studied Nathan with curious eyes. You look familiar, Alexander said, his head tilted in the exact way Nathan's did when analyzing a problem. Nathan's eyes widened slightly at the gesture, recognition of himself in this small boy hitting him visibly. I've been told I have one of those faces, he replied with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. No, it's something else, Alexander insisted, brow furrowing in concentration. Why don't you show Mr. Barrett the playground? David suggested, diffusing the moment. He probably hasn't been to one in years. David. The children needed no further encouragement, leading Nathan toward the slides while Olivia and David followed at a distance. They're amazing, Nathan said quietly as he watched Emma fearlessly climb to the highest platform while Alexander calculated the optimal angle for maximum speed on the slide. They are, Olivia agreed. Emma has your determination. And Alexander has your analytical mind, she finished. I know. For the next hour, Nathan played with his children without them knowing who he was. He pushed them on swings, caught them at the bottom of slides, and listened intently as Emma explained her theory about why clouds change shape, and Alexander detailed his plan for a more efficient playground design. See, the problem is inefficient user flow, Alexander explained, pointing to where children were bottlenecking at the ladder to the slide. If they added a second access point here, throughput would increase by approximately 40%. That's very observant, Nathan replied, clearly impressed. Have you considered that the bottleneck might be intentional? To create a natural pause in the play cycle? Alexander's eyes widened. I hadn't thought of that. Like a cool-down period in a game loop. Exactly. Meanwhile, Emma was showing Nathan her sketch of the park. I like to capture moments, she explained, her small fingers deftly shading the drawing. The way that Mom and Dad are sitting together. See how their shoulders touch? That means they're connected, even when they're not talking. Thanks for watching. Nathan studied the drawing with genuine admiration. You notice the things other people miss. That's a rare gift. Mom says I see with my heart as well as my eyes. Your mom is very wise. Olivia watched from a bench nearby, emotions warring within her. This was the Nathan she'd fallen in love with. Engaged, present, his brilliant mind focused entirely on the person in front of him. Not the driven CEO who had gradually lost sight of everything but the next acquisition, the next expansion, the next billion. He's good with them, David observed, his voice free of jealousy or concern. He always had that ability to be completely present when he chose to be, Olivia replied. It's what made him such an effective leader in the early days. People felt heard, valued. Until they didn't. Until the company became more important than the people in it. As their agreed-upon hour drew to a close, Nathan bought ice cream for everyone from a nearby vendor. Sitting at a picnic table, Alexander suddenly pointed at Nathan's wrist. That's why you look familiar. Your watch is in Mom's old photo. Olivia froze. In their living room was a single photograph from her previous life, her MIT graduation, where she stood beaming between her parents. Nathan had been cropped out, but his distinctive watch was visible on a partial arm at the edge of the image. Alexander has an eye for details, David explained to Nathan. He certainly does, Nathan agreed, looking at the boy with newfound wonder. You're very observant. Mom says, I notice things other people miss, Alexander said proudly. That's a valuable skill, Nathan told him. In any field you might choose. I'm going to design computer systems when I grow up, Alexander announced. Systems that help people. Just like Mom does with Artemis. Emma added. She helps kids learn better. Nathan looked at Olivia, something like respect in his eyes. Your mom is very good at that. She always was. As they prepared to leave, Nathan knelt to the twins' level. It was very nice meeting you both. Thank you for showing me around the playground. Are you going back to your big company now? Emma asked innocently. Nathan looked startled. What do you know about my company? Mom has a magazine with your picture on it in her office drawer. Emma said. It says you run Horizon Innovations. Olivia closed her eyes briefly. Of course, her observant children had found the business magazine she'd kept. She told herself it was to track the competition, but perhaps some part of her had never fully let go. Emma, David said gently. Remember what we said about going through Mom's things? Sorry, she mumbled, though she didn't look particularly repentant. You work at Horizon? Alexander asked, suddenly more interested. They make our school tablets. Nathan nodded, visibly emotional at this unexpected connection to his children's lives. Yes, we do. Did you work there too, Mom? Emma asked, connecting the dots in her quick mind. A long time ago, Olivia admitted. Is that how you know each other? Alexander pressed. Yes, Nathan answered simply. Your mom and I worked together. Olivia saw the questions forming in her perceptive children's minds and decided it was time to go. We should head home. Say goodbye, kids. Goodbye, Mr. Barrett. They chorused before running ahead toward the parking lot. David tactfully followed them, leaving Olivia alone with Nathan. You kept a magazine with my picture, he said quietly. Know thy enemy, she repeated, but the words lacked conviction. I'm not your enemy, Liv. I never was. What are you, then? I don't know anymore. He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture so familiar it made her heart ache. They're incredible, Olivia. So smart, so full of life. You've done an amazing job raising them. David and I have, she corrected gently. Yes, of course. Nathan looked toward where David stood with the twins by the car. He seems like a good man. The best. Are you happy? Truly happy? The question caught her off guard with its sincerity. Yes, she answered honestly. I have my family, meaningful work, a life of purpose. Everything I always wanted. I'm glad, he said, and she believed him. Thank you for today. For letting me meet them. You're welcome. As she turned to leave, he spoke again. Olivia? The offer to acquire Artemis is officially withdrawn. Not because of your threat, but because you're right. It's your legacy for them, and I have no right to claim it. She nodded, unable to speak past the sudden tightness in her throat. But I would like to make a different offer, he continued. Horizon has an educational foundation. We fund STEM programs in underserved communities. I'd like to establish a partnership with Artemis. No acquisition, no control. Just collaboration. Your technology, our resources. Why? Because it would help more children. Because it's the right thing to do. He paused. And because maybe it's time I built something that matters beyond market share. Olivia studied him, looking for the calculating businessman, but finding only the Nathan she'd once believed in. Send me a proposal, she finally said. A real partnership, not a takeover. I will. As she walked away, he called after her. They deserve to know who I am someday, Liv. She stopped but didn't turn around. Someday, when they're older, when they can understand, and when they ask why I wasn't in their lives. Now she did turn. I'll tell them the truth. That you made choices, and I made choices, and sometimes even when people love each other, they choose different paths. Not I. Did you? Love me? Once. Very much. I never stopped, he admitted. Even when I was too blind to see what I was losing. Olivia felt David's eyes on them from the distance, patient and understanding. Goodbye, Nathan. Goodbye, Olivia. As she joined her family in the car, Emma asked, Is Mr. Barrett going to visit again? Maybe someday. Olivia answered, meeting David's supportive gaze. Some people come into our lives for just a moment, and others stay forever. The important thing is what we learn from each encounter. He seemed sad, Alexander observed. Like he lost something important. Out of the mouths of babes, Olivia thought. He did, she said quietly. But sometimes what we lose teaches us what really matters. Ever. As they drove home, Olivia glanced in the rearview mirror at her twins, the children Nathan had never wanted, who had become the center of her world. She had walked away from a $500 million empire to raise them, and she would make the same choice again in a heartbeat. Some things, after all, could never be bought, not with all the money in the world. Is it ever too late to recognize what truly matters in life? If this story resonates with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to Lux Love Chronicles with Mr. Wentworth. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Would you have made the same choice as Olivia? Or do you think Nathan deserves a second chance to be in his children's lives? The meeting at the park changed something fundamental in Nathan Barrett. For a man accustomed to quantifying value in market share and profit margins, the hour he'd spent with his children had introduced a new metric he couldn't calculate, the incalculable worth of connection. Monday morning found him distracted during Horizon's executive briefing. While his COO detailed their quarterly projections, Nathan's mind wandered to Alexander's explanation of playground efficiency and Emma's perceptive drawings. Nathan, your thoughts on the Singapore expansion timeline? He blinked, realizing everyone at the conference table was waiting for his response. I'm sorry. What was the question? 1. Vernon Hughes, the aggressive COO who had helped shape Horizon's profit-focused direction, exchanged concerned glances with the CFO. The Singapore expansion. We were discussing accelerating the timeline to preempt competition. Right. Nathan glanced down at the proposal in front of him. More offices, more employees, more market share. The usual metrics of success that had driven him for years. I actually want to discuss something else. Our educational technology division. We don't have an educational technology division, Vernon reminded him. We sunset those products years ago. Exactly. And I think that was a mistake. Nathan closed the Singapore proposal folder. I want to revisit our original mission. Technology that improves lives, not just market share. Nath. The room fell silent. These executives had been hired specifically for their aggressive growth mindset, their focus on the bottom line above all else. Nathan's words sounded like heresy. With all due respect, Vernon finally said, educational technology is a saturated market with limited growth potential and thin margins. We made the right decision to focus on enterprise solutions. 1. Did we? Nathan challenged. Or did we abandon our foundational purpose for short-term gains? Our stock price suggests we made the right call, the CFO noted dryly. Stock price isn't everything. Now the executives looked genuinely concerned. Their CEO, the ruthless architect of Horizon's meteoric rise, was suddenly questioning the very metrics he'd insisted were paramount. Nathan, Vernon said carefully, is everything all right? You've seemed distracted since your health scare last week. The health scare had been Nathan's excuse for canceling the Artemis acquisition meeting, a convenient fiction to avoid explaining the real reason. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. I'm seeing things clearly for the first time in years. Nathan stood, pacing to the window that overlooked the San Francisco skyline. We've lost sight of why we founded this company. It was never just about building the biggest enterprise. It was about creating technology that mattered, that made a positive difference. That's a lovely sentiment, Vernon said, not bothering to hide his skepticism, but it doesn't align with our current business model or shareholder expectations. Then maybe it's time to redefine those expectations. Nathan turned to face the room. I'm establishing a new division, Horizon Education. We'll focus on adaptive learning technologies, accessibility tools, educational platforms for underserved communities. With what resources? The CFO asked, already calculating the impact on their bottom line. We'll allocate 15% of our R&D budget initially, with room to grow based on results. Vernon looked as though Nathan had suggested setting fire to the building. 15%? That's nearly $100 million. Money well spent if it helps us rediscover our purpose. The board will never approve this, Vernon warned. Nathan smiled thinly. I still control 37% of voting shares. The board will follow my lead, or find a new CEO. No. After the meeting, Vernon followed Nathan into his office, closing the door behind him. What's really going on, Nathan? This isn't like you. Nathan considered how much to reveal. Vernon had been a loyal lieutenant for years, instrumental in Horizon's growth. But he embodied the profit above all mentality that Nathan was now questioning. I've been reevaluating my priorities, he said carefully. Because of the Artemis thing? Look, there are dozens of other acquisition targets in our pipeline. Losing one isn't the end of the world. It's not about Artemis specifically. Then what? Because frankly, this sudden interest in educational technology feels personal. Nathan was silent for a moment, weighing his options. It is personal, he finally admitted. I reconnected with someone from the early days of Horizon, someone who reminded me of the vision we started with. Vernon's eyes narrowed. Olivia Chen. Nathan tried to hide his surprise. How did you? I do my homework, Nathan. She was your co-founder, your ex-wife. And now, curiously, the secretive founder of Artemis Learning, operating under her grandmother's name. Vernon leaned forward. Did you know that when you put her company on our acquisition list? No, Nathan answered honestly. I found out when she came to see me last week. And now you suddenly want to pivot back to educational technology? This seems like a conflict of interest at best, a midlife crisis at worst. It's neither. Nathan's voice hardened. It's a course correction. We lost our way, Vernon. I lost my way. This isn't about Olivia. It's about remembering why we built Horizon in the first place. Vernon studied him for a long moment. You know I respect you, Nathan. You built something remarkable here. But this feels like a step backward, not forward. Sometimes you have to go back to move forward in the right direction. After Vernon left, Nathan sat alone in his office, staring at the empire he'd built. From this height, the city looked like a complex system, interconnected, dynamic, purposeful. But what was its purpose? What was his? For years, he'd measured his success by the growth of Horizon, by acquisitions and market penetration and quarterly profits. He pursued those metrics with single-minded determination, sacrificing everything else along the way, including, it seemed, the chance to know his own children. With a decisive movement, Nathan reached for his phone and called his assistant. "Karen, I need you to clear my schedule for the afternoon. And contact legal. I want to review our charitable foundation structure. We're going to be making some changes." That evening, alone in his penthouse apartment with its minimalist furniture and spectacular views, Nathan opened his laptop and began drafting a proposal. Not for a hostile takeover or aggressive expansion, but for a genuine partnership between Horizon and Artemis. A collaboration that would leverage Horizon's resources and Artemis's innovative educational platform to reach children who needed it most. As he worked, he found himself thinking not about market share or competitive advantage, but about Emma and Alexander, about the kind of world he wanted them to inherit, the values he hoped they would embrace, about the father he wished he could be to them. It was nearly midnight when he finished the proposal. Before sending it, he added a personal note. "Olivia, this is more than a business partnership. It's the beginning of Horizon's return to its original mission, technology that improves lives. Thank you for reminding me of what really matters, Nathan." Meanwhile, across town in Boulder, Olivia sat in her home office, reviewing the day's work on Artemis's latest update. The house was quiet, the twins asleep, David grading papers in the living room. But her mind kept returning to the park, to Nathan's face when he'd first seen the twins, to the genuine connection he'd formed with them in just 1 hour. "Still working?" David asked, appearing in the doorway with 2 mugs of tea. "Just finishing up," she said, accepting the mug gratefully. "How are your physics tests?" "Depressing. I'm beginning to think the law of conservation of energy doesn't apply to teenage attention spans." He settled into the chair across from her desk. "You've been quiet since the park. Want to talk about it?" Olivia sighed. "I keep asking myself if I did the right thing, keeping the twins from him all these years." "You made the best decision you could with the information you had at the time," David said, echoing the words he'd spoken many times before. Nathan made his priorities very clear. "He did," she agreed. "But seeing him with them today, he was different, David. Present in a way he hadn't been for years before I left. Like the man I first fell in love with." "People can change," David acknowledged. "The question is whether the change is genuine and lasting. And how can I know that without risking the twins getting hurt?" "You can't. That's the hard part of parenting. Sometimes you have to make decisions without knowing all the outcomes." Olivia smiled at her husband, this wise, kind man who had taught her so much about love and family. "When did you get so philosophical?" "It comes with the territory when you explain quantum mechanics to 16-year-olds. He sipped his tea thoughtfully. "What are you going to tell the twins?" "They're asking questions now." "I know. Alexander asked me tonight if Mr. Barrett was one of the people who started Horizon with me. They're putting the pieces together." "They're your children," David said with a smile. "Of course they are." Olivia closed her laptop, decision made. "I'll tell them the truth, or at least an age-appropriate version of it. That Nathan is their biological father, that he and I made different choices that led us on separate paths, but that he's interested in knowing them now. And if he disappoints them, then we'll be here to help them through it, just as we've always been." The next morning, Olivia woke to an email notification on her phone. The sender, Nathan Barrett. The subject, proposed partnership, Horizon and Artemis. She read it while David slept beside her, the early morning light painting shadows across their bedroom. The proposal was everything she could have hoped for. Respectful of Artemis's independence, genuinely focused on expanding educational access, with resources that would accelerate their impact exponentially. But it was the personal note at the end that brought tears to her eyes. Because for the first time in nearly a decade, she glimpsed the Nathan she had once believed in, the man who valued impact over profit, purpose over power. The question was whether to trust that glimpse, to take the risk of allowing him back into their carefully constructed lives. Before she could decide, her bedroom door creaked open and 2 small figures appeared. "Mom?" Alexander whispered. "Are you awake?" "Yes, sweetheart. Come in." The twins climbed onto the bed, settling in the space between Olivia and the still sleeping David. This was their weekend ritual, early morning cuddles before the day began. "We have a question," Emma announced, her small face serious in the dawnlight. "About Mr. Barrett," Alexander added. Olivia's heart raced. "What about him?" The twins exchanged a look, one of those silent communications that had fascinated Olivia since their infancy. Is he our real dad? Emma finally asked. Olivia took a deep breath. The moment had arrived sooner than she'd expected. Yes, she said simply. He is your biological father. I knew it, Alexander said, not triumphant but thoughtful. The way he tilts his head when he's thinking, I do that too. And his watch in the picture. And how he knew exactly what I meant about system optimization. Why didn't he live with us? Emma asked, the question Olivia had been dreading. Because sometimes adults make choices that take them in different directions. Olivia explained carefully. When I found out I was pregnant with you two, your father, and I had already chosen different paths. Did he know about us? Alexander's analytical mind went straight to the heart of the matter. No, Olivia admitted. I didn't tell him. Why not? Emma pressed. Olivia looked at her children's earnest faces, trying to find the right words. Before I knew I was going to have you, your father told me that he didn't want children. He said they would interfere with the company we were building together. Horizon, Alexander supplied. Yes, he believed that focusing on the company was more important than starting a family. So, when I discovered I was pregnant, I made a choice to leave and build a different kind of life. One where you two would always be the most important thing. But he liked us at the park, Emma pointed out. He didn't seem like he didn't want kids. People change, Olivia said, echoing David's words from the night before. And sometimes, they don't realize what they truly want until they've lost it. Are we going to see him again? Alexander asked. Would you like to? Both twins nodded without hesitation. I want to show him my new solar system model, Alexander said. And I want him to see my paintings, Emma added. The ones of our family. Olivia felt a lump form in her throat. I'll talk to him. But I want you both to understand something very important. She took each of their hands in hers. No matter what happens with your biological father, you have a dad who loves you very much. David chose to be your father every day for the past 5 years. That's a special kind of love. We know, Emma said seriously. Daddy David is the best dad ever. But we can have 2 dads, right? Alexander reasoned. Like Michael in my class. He has his mom's husband and his real dad who lives in Seattle. It's possible. Olivia allowed. But these things take time. We need to move slowly and see if your biological father is ready to be part of your lives in a consistent way. Because consistency is a critical variable. Alexander nodded, using a phrase he'd picked up from David's science discussions. Exactly. The conversation was interrupted by David, stirring beside them. He opened his eyes to find his family deep in serious discussion. Good morning, he murmured. Did I miss something important? Mom told us that Mr. Barrett is our biological father, Emma informed him. David met Olivia's eyes over the twins' heads, a silent question passing between them. They figured it out, she explained. Of course they did, he said with a proud smile. They're the 2 smartest kids I know. Are you okay with us maybe seeing him again? Alexander asked, always sensitive to the emotional undercurrents between adults. David pulled both twins into a hug. I want whatever makes you happy and helps you grow into the amazing people you're already becoming. Your mom and I will always be here for you, no matter what. 1. Later that morning, after the twins had gone to help David with breakfast, Olivia replied to Nathan's email. Nathan, the partnership proposal looks promising. I'd like to discuss details in person. Also, the twins know who you are. They've asked to see you again. We should talk about what that means going forward. Olivia. His response came within minutes. Name the time and place. I'll be there. If you believe in second chances and the power of genuine change, give this video a like. Every like helps this channel grow and lets me know you want more stories about redemption, family, and finding what truly matters. Comment below with your thoughts. Should Olivia trust Nathan's apparent transformation? 3 days later, Olivia sat across from Nathan in a quiet corner of a local cafe, the partnership proposal open on the table between them. The terms are fair, she acknowledged, having reviewed the document thoroughly with her team. You're offering resources without demanding control. It's not what I expected. I'm not the same person I was 8 years ago, Nathan said quietly. Or even 1 week ago. Meeting the twins changed you that much? Meeting them, yes, but also seeing you again. Remembering who we were, what we believed in when we started Horizon. He paused, choosing his words carefully. For years, I've measured success by market share and acquisition targets. I convinced myself that was what mattered. But seeing what you've built with Artemis, technology that actually helps people, that serves a genuine purpose, it made me question everything. One meeting and suddenly you've had an epiphany? Olivia couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. Not suddenly, no. The seeds were there before. Questions I'd been pushing aside about what all this success was actually for. Nathan gestured to his expensive watch, his tailored suit, the trappings of wealth he pursued so relentlessly. But meeting Emma and Alexander, seeing these incredible children who share my DNA but whom I know nothing about, it crystallized something I'd been avoiding. What's that? That I've been building an empire with no heir. Not just literally, though that's part of it, but no purpose, no legacy beyond market dominance. He met her eyes directly. You were right to leave, Olivia. You saw what I was becoming before I did. Olivia studied him, looking for the calculating businessman, the strategic negotiator she'd known for so long. Instead, she found only sincerity and a vulnerability she'd rarely seen in him. The twins want to see you again, she said finally. They have questions only you can answer. Relief washed over his face. I'd like that. Very much. But I need to be clear about something, Nathan. They have a father in their lives. David has been there for them every day for 5 years. He coaches their teams, helps with their homework, kisses their scrapes. That bond is sacred, and I won't allow it to be diminished. I understand. I'm not trying to replace him. What are you trying to do, exactly? Nathan considered the question seriously. I'd like the chance to know them, to be part of their lives in whatever way you and David think is appropriate. To maybe, someday, earn the right to be called something more than Mr. Barrett. And when the novelty wears off, when being dad means showing up for mundane school concerts and sitting through 3-hour swim meets. I want all of it, Nathan said with surprising intensity. The extraordinary and the ordinary, the achievements and the disappointments. I've missed 7 years of their lives, Olivia. I don't want to miss any more. Even if it means adjusting your precious schedule, canceling board meetings for science fairs, putting someone else's needs before the company's? Yes. The simplicity of his answer caught her off guard. I've already started. I've restructured my leadership team, delegated day-to-day operations, and established boundaries around my time. For the first time in my career, I'm not available 24/7. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Vernon must be thrilled. Vernon resigned this morning, actually. Said he didn't sign up for a company with a social conscience. And the board is adjusting to the new direction. Some are resistant, others surprisingly supportive. But I've made it clear, Horizon is returning to its original mission. Technology that improves lives, not just market share. Olivia felt a strange sense of déjà vu. These were the conversations they'd had in the early days of Horizon, before success had changed everything. I'll need to see consistency, she said finally. Words are easy, Nathan. Actions over time are what matter. Actions? I know. I'm prepared to prove myself, for as long as it takes. And what about us? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Us? Nathan's expression softened. The partnership, she clarified quickly. Horizon and Artemis. Right. If he was disappointed by the clarification, he hit it well. I believe we can do more good together than separately. Your adaptive learning technology, combined with our resources and distribution channels, could reach millions of children who need it. Olivia nodded, focusing on the proposal before her rather than the man across the table. I'll need final approval from my team, but provisionally, yes. I think this partnership could work. Thank you. The gratitude in his voice was genuine. For this, and for the chance to see the twins again. Saturday, Olivia said. They want to show you their science project and Emma's artwork. 3 o'clock at our house. She wrote the address on a napkin and slid it across the table. Nathan took it carefully, as if it were a precious document rather than a simple napkin. I'll be there. Early, probably. Don't bring extravagant gifts, Olivia warned. We're raising them to value experiences over possessions. Noted. Nathan hesitated, then added, David will be there? Of course. He's their dad. Nathan nodded, accepting this reality without argument. He seems like a good man. The best, Olivia confirmed. The same words she'd used at the park. He loves them for who they are, not what they represent or might become. That's what real parenting is, isn't it? Loving them for themselves, not as extensions of our own ambitions. Yes, Olivia agreed, surprised by his insight. That's exactly what it is. As they prepared to leave, Nathan asked the question that had been lingering between them. Are you happy, Olivia? Truly happy with the choice you made? Yes, she answered without hesitation. Walking away from Horizon was the hardest decision I ever made, but also the best. My life has purpose, meaning, love. Everything I always wanted. "I'm glad," he said, and she believed him. "You deserve that happiness, even if I was too blind to help create it with you." 1. Saturday afternoon, Nathan arrived at the address Olivia had given him. A modest two-story home on a quiet street in Boulder. The front yard featured a giant maple tree with a tire swing, flower beds bursting with late summer blooms, and a driveway marked with colorful chalk drawings. It was nothing like the sleek, modern properties he'd owned over the years. This was unmistakably a family home, lived in, loved. The site of countless memories he hadn't been part of. Nathan checked his watch. He was 15 minutes early, just as he'd predicted. Old habits died hard. Rather than ring the doorbell, he sat in his rental car, gathering his thoughts. He brought 2 simple gifts, despite Olivia's warning. Books he'd loved at the twins' age, one on astronomy for Alexander, and one on famous women artists for Emma. At exactly 3 o'clock, he approached the front door and rang the bell. David answered, greeting him with polite warmth. "Nathan, come in. They've been waiting all morning." The interior of the house matched its exterior, comfortable, colorful, filled with evidence of active family life. Bookshelves overflowed with a mix of children's literature and scientific texts. Artwork, clearly Emma's, adorned the walls alongside framed academic certificates. A half-completed robot model sat on the coffee table, surrounded by tools and tiny electronic components. "Mom, he's here," Alexander called, racing into the living room with Emma close behind. "Mr. Barrett, come see our science project." Emma grabbed his hand without hesitation, pulling him toward the dining room that had been converted into a makeshift laboratory. "It's a model of sustainable energy production and consumption for our neighborhood," Alexander explained, pointing to an elaborate diorama featuring tiny solar panels, wind turbines, and meticulously labeled houses. "We calculated the energy needs for 20 households and designed a system that could meet those needs using only renewable sources," Emma added. Nathan studied the model with genuine admiration. "This is university-level work. How did you manage the variable output issues with solar and wind?" Alexander's face lit up at the technical question. "We incorporated a battery storage system here." He pointed to a section of the model and developed an algorithm for predicting peak usage times based on household patterns. "The algorithm was the hard part," Emma admitted. "But Mom helped us optimize it." "She would be good at that," Nathan said with a smile. "Your mother was always brilliant at seeing patterns others missed." "That's what she says about you," Alexander replied. "That you can look at complex systems and immediately understand how they work." Nathan felt a surge of emotion at this evidence that Olivia had spoken of him to the twins, and not unkindly. "She said that?" "Uh-huh. She told us you were super smart about business stuff, and that's why Horizon got so big." Emma tilted her head curiously. "Is that why you didn't want kids? Because you were busy making Horizon big?" The directness of the question caught Nathan off guard. He glanced toward the kitchen, where Olivia and David were preparing snacks, clearly giving them space for this conversation. "That's a complicated question," he answered carefully. "But essentially, yes. I thought building the company was the most important thing, more important than starting a family. I was wrong about that. Thank you for watching." "Mom says people can make mistakes and still be good people," Alexander offered generously. "Your mom is very wise," Nathan said, throat tight with emotion, "and very forgiving." "Do you want to see my paintings now?" Emma asked, already tugging him toward a small studio space off the living room. "I'd love to." Emma's artwork was impressive for a 7-year-old. Vibrant, expressive pieces that showed remarkable attention to emotional detail. One painting in particular caught Nathan's eye, a family portrait showing Olivia, David, and the twins at a picnic. The colors were warm, the figures connected by subtle brushstrokes that suggested bonds of love and trust. "This is beautiful," Nathan said sincerely. "You've captured something special here. It's our family." Emma explained. "See how everyone's connected by these little lines? That's because we're all part of each other, even when we're doing different things." Nathan nodded, understanding the symbolism and the message it contained. This was their family, complete, whole, bound together by love and shared experiences. He was the outsider looking in. "Would you like some lemonade?" Olivia asked, appearing in the doorway. "The kids made it fresh this morning." 1. They seem to excel at everything they try, Nathan observed, following her to the kitchen. "They work hard," David said, joining the conversation. "And they're lucky to have inherited some exceptional genes from both parents." The acknowledgement was generous, a recognition of Nathan's contribution to the twins' existence, without diminishing David's role in their lives. The afternoon progressed with surprising ease. Nathan found himself drawn into the rhythms of the family, helping Alexander with a tricky circuit connection, discussing color theory with Emma, answering their endless questions about his work and life. "Do you live in a mansion?" Emma wanted to know. "I have a penthouse apartment in San Francisco," Nathan explained. "It's large, but not a mansion." "Is it lonely there?" Alexander asked with his characteristic perceptiveness. Nathan considered the question seriously. "Sometimes, yes. I've focused so much on work that I haven't built much of a personal life." "You should get a dog," Emma suggested practically. "Dogs are good company." "That's excellent advice," Nathan laughed. "I'll consider it." As the day wore on, the initial awkwardness faded. David proved to be not just gracious but genuinely likable, intelligent, kind, with a dry humor that complemented Olivia's more direct wit. Watching him with the twins, Nathan saw what true fatherhood looked like, not genetic contribution, but daily presence, patient guidance, unconditional love. It was a humbling realization. Nathan had achieved extraordinary professional success, built a multi-billion-dollar company, transformed an industry. But David had mastered something far more significant. He had helped shape two remarkable human beings, not through occasional visits or expensive gifts, but through the quiet heroism of everyday parenting. When it was time to leave, the twins surprised Nathan with farewell hugs. "Will you come back?" Alexander asked, his expression serious. "If your mom and dad say it's okay," Nathan replied, looking to Olivia and David for guidance. "How about next Saturday?" David suggested. "We're taking the kids to the Science Museum. You're welcome to join us." "Nice. I'd like that very much," Nathan said, touched by the invitation. "Thank you." At the door, Olivia walked him out while David helped the twins clear up their projects. "They're amazing, Olivia. You and David have done an incredible job raising them." "They make it easy," she said with a mother's pride. "They're naturally curious, kind, resilient. Like their mother." Olivia smiled at the compliment. David suggested the Science Museum, but I want to be clear about expectations going forward. If you're going to be in their lives, it needs to be consistent. They're at an age where they form deep attachments. I won't have them hurt by someone who shows interest and then disappears when it becomes inconvenient. "I understand, and I give you my word, I'm committed to being part of their lives in whatever way you and David think is best. Even if that means flying to Boulder every weekend for the foreseeable future." That's a significant commitment for someone who used to consider a 2-hour break for dinner an inefficient use of time. "I've reassessed my priorities," Nathan said simply. "Some things are worth making time for." "We'll see," Olivia replied, neither accepting nor rejecting his assurance. "Actions over time, remember?" "I remember, and I'm prepared to prove myself." As Nathan drove away from the house that held the family he might have had, he felt not the bitter sting of regret but a surprising sense of possibility. He had missed 7 years of his children's lives, years he could never reclaim. But perhaps, with patience and consistency, he could be part of their future. The irony wasn't lost on him. He, who had pursued growth and expansion with single-minded focus, would now need to prove himself worthy of a role that couldn't be acquired or negotiated, that of a father who had earned his children's trust. Have you ever realized too late what truly matters in life? Hit that subscribe button if you want more powerful stories about second chances, redemption, and discovering what's truly valuable. Comment below with your thoughts. Can Nathan truly change and become the father his children deserve? I read every comment and love hearing your perspectives. The weeks turned into months as Nathan became a regular presence in the twins' lives. True to his word, he flew to Boulder every other weekend, coordinating his visits with Olivia and David to respect their family routines while building his own relationship with Emma and Alexander. He attended Alexander's first robotics competition, cheering as loudly as any parent when the boys' team won second place. He sat patiently through Emma's violin recital, where she played a simple piece with intense concentration. He joined family hikes in the Colorado mountains, museum outings, and ordinary weekend breakfasts where the conversation ranged from quantum physics to the best way to make pancakes. "You're really committed to this," Olivia observed one Sunday evening as Nathan prepared to return to San Francisco. The twins had already said their goodbyes, extracting a promise that he would video call on Wednesday as usual to hear about their science fair preparations. "I told you I would be," he replied simply. "I know. I just didn't expect." She hesitated. "Didn't expect what?" "The way you've integrated into our lives without trying to disrupt them. The respect you've shown for David's role. The genuine interest you take in every detail of the twins' lives, not just the impressive achievements. They're extraordinary kids, Olivia. Getting to know them, being allowed to be part of their world, it's a privilege I don't take lightly. She studied him thoughtfully. You've changed. I'm trying to, every day. Back in San Francisco, Nathan's professional life was undergoing equally significant transformations. The New Horizon Education Division was growing rapidly, focusing on bringing adaptive learning technology to underserved communities worldwide. The partnership with Artemis had become the cornerstone of this initiative, with Olivia's innovative platform reaching more children than either of them had thought possible. Not everyone at Horizon embraced the new direction. Several senior executives, including Vernon, had departed for more aggressively profit-focused companies. The board had questioned the allocation of resources to educational technology, especially when it impacted quarterly profits. But Nathan held firm, using his controlling stake and newfound clarity of purpose to steer the company back toward its original mission. Our value isn't measured solely in market share, he told the board during a particularly contentious meeting. It's measured in lives improved, in potential unlocked, in problems solved. Educational technology isn't a charitable side project, it's the future of our company and our legacy. Gradually, the culture at Horizon began to shift. New hires were selected not just for their technical brilliance or business acumen, but for their alignment with the company's renewed purpose. Quarterly reports highlighted impact metrics alongside financial ones. The Horizon Foundation expanded its support for STEM education in low-income communities, with Artemis's platform as its technological backbone. 6 months after his first meeting with the twins, Nathan received an unexpected call from David. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important," David began. "Nothing that can't wait," Nathan assured him, immediately concerned. "Is everything okay with the twins?" "They're fine. Actually, that's why I'm calling. Alexander's birthday is next month, and he's asked for something specific I wanted to discuss with you." "Of course. Whatever he needs. He wants you to come for the whole week, not just the weekend. He'd like you to speak to his class about technology, innovation, and then attend his actual birthday party." Nathan felt a surge of emotion at the request. "I'd be honored, and I can absolutely clear my schedule." "There's one more thing," David continued. "He and Emma have been talking, and they'd like to start calling you Dad Nathan to distinguish from Dad David. They asked me how I felt about it before approaching you." Nathan was momentarily speechless. "And how do you feel about it?" "I think it's appropriate," David said with characteristic generosity. "You've earned it, Nathan. You've been consistent, respectful, genuinely invested in their lives. You're not just their biological father anymore. You're becoming a real parent." "Thank you," Nathan managed, emotion making his voice rough. "That means more than I can express. Olivia and I have discussed it, and we're both comfortable with this evolution in your relationship with the twins. They need to know they're not betraying me by developing a bond with you. You're an extraordinary man, David. Most people in your position wouldn't be so accepting." "This isn't about my ego," David said simply. "It's about what's best for Emma and Alexander. Having another adult who loves them unconditionally is never a bad thing." 1. After the call ended, Nathan sat in his office, looking out at the city sprawl below. For years, he had pursued success as defined by the business world: market dominance, wealth accumulation, industry recognition. He had achieved all of it, built an empire worth billions, become the person whose calls everyone answered immediately. Yet none of that success had filled the emptiness he hadn't even recognized until Olivia walked back into his life. None of it compared to the simple joy of being called Dad Nathan by two remarkable children who were choosing to make space for him in their hearts. The following month, Nathan spent a full week in Boulder. He spoke to Alexander's class about innovation and the responsibility that came with creating new technology. He helped Emma prepare for her art show, offering encouragement as she fretted over which pieces to include. He joined family dinners, school drop-offs, ordinary moments that were extraordinary simply because he was present for them. On the evening of Alexander's birthday, after the party had ended, and the twins were in bed, Nathan, Olivia, and David sat in the backyard, sharing a bottle of wine. "Thank you," Nathan said quietly, "both of you, for allowing me to be part of their lives." "You've earned it," Olivia replied, echoing David's words from weeks earlier. "I've been thinking about making a change," Nathan said after a moment. "Opening a Horizon office here in Boulder, spending more time close to the twins." Olivia's eyebrows rose in surprise. "You'd relocate your primary operations from San Francisco, the heart of the tech industry?" 1. Not all operations. Just myself, primarily. With the right team in place in San Francisco, I could do most of my work from here. That's a significant change, David observed. The most important one I could make, Nathan agreed. I've missed too much already. Video calls and weekend visits are better than nothing, but I want to be more present in their lives. If that's okay with both of you, he added quickly. Olivia and David exchanged a look, one of those silent communications that long-term partners develop. We'd need to establish clear boundaries, Olivia said finally. About schedules, about decisions regarding the twins. This is still their primary home, their stable base. Of course. I'm not trying to disrupt what you've built. I just want to be more available, more present. I think it could work, David offered. The twins would certainly be thrilled to have you closer. We'll need to talk about it more, Olivia cautioned. Consider all the implications. Take all the time you need, Nathan assured her. I'm not making any moves without your full agreement. As the conversation shifted to other topics, Nathan reflected on how far they had all come. A year earlier, he had been focused solely on Horizon's next acquisition, his personal worth measured in stock options and market influence. He had never imagined sitting in this backyard with his ex-wife and her husband, planning a future that prioritized his relationship with children he hadn't known existed. Life had a way of humbling even the most successful people, of revealing the emptiness of achievement without purpose, wealth without connection. Nathan had built an empire worth $500 million, but Olivia had been the truly wealthy one all along, rich in the things that actually mattered. 6 months later, Nathan opened the Boulder office of Horizon Innovations, a modern space downtown that allowed him to split his time between San Francisco and Colorado. He purchased a comfortable home, 15 minutes from Olivia and David's house, close enough for regular involvement in the twins' lives but respectful of their primary family unit. The arrangement evolved naturally. Nathan attended school events, helped with homework, joined family outings when invited. He developed his own traditions with the twins, Saturday morning hikes, monthly visits to the planetarium that Alexander loved, art gallery explorations with Emma. He learned the parenting skills that didn't come naturally to him, patience with repeated questions, comfort with messy creativity, the ability to listen without immediately proposing solutions. You're good at this, Olivia observed one evening when she came to pick up the twins after they had spent the afternoon with Nathan. Fatherhood. I have excellent teachers, he replied, nodding toward Emma and Alexander, who were gathering their belongings. They're very patient with my learning curve. Not just them, Olivia said quietly. You've learned a lot from David too. I see it in how you interact with them. He's the best role model I could have. The kind of father I want to be. Olivia smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression that had been absent in their early reunions. You know, I used to wonder if I made the right decision. Leaving without telling you about the pregnancy, if I robbed you of something precious. You made the right choice based on who I was then, Nathan said honestly. I wasn't ready to be a father. I wouldn't have appreciated what I had. And now? Now I know that everything I thought was important, the empire, the acquisitions, the influence, was just a poor substitute for what really matters. On the twins' 8th birthday, Olivia, David, and Nathan hosted a joint celebration. As Nathan watched Emma and Alexander blow out their candles, surrounded by friends, teachers, and 3 adults who loved them unconditionally, he felt a contentment he had never known in his years of chasing success. Later, as the party wound down, Emma approached him with a carefully wrapped package. This is for you, she said solemnly. From me and Alexander. Inside was a framed painting, one of Emma's best works. It showed 5 figures standing together beneath a bright Sunday, Olivia and David on one side, Nathan on the other, the twins in the middle. Above the painting, in Emma's careful handwriting, were the words, "Our family." Do you like it? She asked anxiously. Alexander helped with the composition. We wanted to show that families can look different, but still be connected. It's perfect, Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion. The most beautiful gift I've ever received. That night, after returning to his Boulder home, Nathan placed the painting on his mantle, a visible reminder of the extraordinary journey that had brought him here. He thought about the man he had been, driven, ambitious, measuring success in market share and acquisitions. He thought about the empire he had built, the $500 million company that had consumed his every waking moment. And he thought about what he had now instead, the privilege of being Dad Nathan, to 2 remarkable children, the growing friendship with David, the renewed connection with Olivia that had evolved into a different kind of partnership based on mutual respect, and shared purpose. Some would say he had lost an empire. Nathan knew he had gained a kingdom beyond price. 1 year later. "Dad, Nathan, come see what we built." Alexander called from the backyard, where he and Emma had been working on their latest science project, a small solar-powered irrigation system for their vegetable garden. Coming. Nathan set down his laptop, where he'd been reviewing the latest impact metrics from the Horizon Artemis partnership. The educational platform they developed together now reached over 5 million children worldwide, with special focus on underserved communities. Outside, the twins proudly demonstrated their invention, explaining the intricate water delivery system they designed to maximize efficiency. "The sensor detects soil moisture levels," Alexander explained, pointing to a small device embedded in the garden. "When it drops below optimal range, it triggers the pump. And we decorated the water pipes to look like flowers," Emma added, showing the artistic touches she contributed to her brother's technical design. "So, it's functional and beautiful." "Impressive," Nathan said sincerely. "Have you shown Dad David yet?" This combines his interests in sustainability and garden design. "We're going to show him tonight," Emma confirmed. "And Mom says if it works well, we might be able to adapt the design for Artemis's STEM curriculum." Speaking of your mom, Nathan checked his watch. "We should head over soon. Family dinner starts in 30 minutes, and I promised to bring dessert." The twins rushed to gather their research notes, excited to share their project at the weekly dinner that had become a tradition. Sundays at Olivia and David's house, with all three parents and the children sharing meals and conversations that often lasted well into the evening. As they drove the familiar route, Nathan reflected on the extraordinary journey of the past 2 years. What had begun as a shocking confrontation in his office had evolved into a complex, rewarding family arrangement that none of them could have imagined. The twins now moved easily between two homes, secure in the knowledge that they were loved by three parents who had put aside their own egos for the children's benefit. Olivia and David's house was filled with the usual Sunday evening activity when they arrived. Michael, now 13, was setting the table while David finished preparing dinner. Olivia emerged from her home office, where she'd been finalizing Artemis's latest adaptive module. Just in time, she greeted them. "David's made his famous lasagna. We brought chocolate souffle," Nathan said, holding up the carefully transported dessert. Emma helped with the recipe selection. "Yeah. I told Dad Nathan that chocolate releases endorphins that make people happy," Emma explained seriously. "So, it's scientifically the best dessert." "Emma, hard to argue with science." David laughed, emerging from the kitchen to greet them. During dinner, the conversation flowed easily between adult concerns and children's interests, technological innovations and school projects, personal achievements and shared goals. Nathan marveled, as he often did, at the unlikely family they had created, not traditional by any definition, but stronger for the challenges they had overcome, the compromises they had made, the love that had transcended conventional boundaries. After the twins had gone upstairs with Michael to work on homework, the three adults lingered at the table. The Horizon Foundation Board approved the expansion of the Educational Access Initiative, Nathan told Olivia. "With the additional funding, we can implement Artemis in another 1,000 schools by next year." "That's wonderful," Olivia said, her eyes bright with the same passion that had drawn him to her at MIT all those years ago. "The impact data from the pilot program has been extraordinary. Test scores up 30%, attendance improved, teacher satisfaction nearly doubled. More importantly," David added, "the kids love it. I've been using the beta version with my science classes, and they're genuinely excited about learning again." "We're making a difference," Nathan said simply. "The kind we always talked about in the beginning." Olivia nodded, understanding the reference to their early days at Horizon. "Technology that actually improves lives, not just market share. It only took me losing everything that mattered to remember what success really looks like," Nathan admitted. "Not everything," David corrected kindly, gesturing toward the stairs where the children's voices could be heard. "You found something more valuable than what you lost." Later, as Nathan prepared to leave, Olivia walked him to the door, a familiar ritual from these Sunday gatherings. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "when I showed up in your office 2 years ago, I was prepared for a fight. I never imagined we'd end up here. With me as the dessert-bringing Dad Nathan who helps with science projects. With all of us finding a way forward that puts the children first. With you becoming the father they deserve." "Thank you," Nathan said simply, "for giving me that chance. For walking away when you needed to, and for letting me back in when it was right for them." Olivia smiled, the the last traces of old hurt long since faded. Some things are too important to let pride or past mistakes stand in the way. As Nathan drove home to his Boulder house, he thought about the empire he had once prioritized above everything else. The $500 million technology giant that had consumed his every waking moment, defined his identity, dictated his choices. He still led Horizon, still guided its strategy and vision. But the company no longer owned his soul, or measured his worth. True wealth, he had learned, couldn't be calculated in stock options or market valuations. It was measured in Alexander's proud smile when he solved a difficult equation, in Emma's thoughtful drawings capturing emotions most adults couldn't express, in the trust Olivia had gradually rebuilt with him, in David's generous friendship, in Sunday, family dinners and science projects, and the privilege of being called Dad. Olivia had walked away from a billion-dollar empire to raise twins Nathan could never buy. In doing so, she had given them all something far more valuable, the chance to discover what truly mattered before it was too late. As Nathan placed Emma's family portrait on his nightstand, his evening ritual, he felt a gratitude so profound it nearly overwhelmed him. Not for his professional achievements or financial success, impressive though they were, but for the second chance he had been given to be part of something genuine, something meaningful, something that would outlast any company or fortune. Some would say he had lost an empire. Nathan knew he had gained the world. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of what truly matters in life, please subscribe to Lux Love Chronicles with Mr. Wentworth. Every subscription helps this channel grow and allows me to bring you more powerful stories of love, redemption, and finding true purpose. Share in the comments what you valued most about this journey. Was it Olivia's courage, Nathan's transformation, or David's generous spirit? I read every comment and love connecting with this amazing community. Remember, true wealth isn't measured in dollars or status, but in the lives we touch and the love we share. Sometimes, the most valuable things in life are the ones money can never buy.